there we go. So hi, everyone. Welcome to The Gathering. This is our Soul Biz collaboration where we get together with like-minded, wonderful entrepreneurs and soulpreneurs and spiritpreneurs, and we just put different ideas out. We test them, we talk about them, and we see what's possible with like-minded collaboration. And so my name is Chris Ann. I have a business called Big Sacred, and I work with lots of different people doing branding and marketing and web design, and kind of I live in that space. And I'm going to introduce my lovely co-host and cohort and beautiful Becca Berggren, and I'm going to let you take it away from.
Thanks, Chris. I'm Becca Berggren with Simply Online, and I'm a mindful marketing strategist, a brand therapist, and basically I work with soulful entrepreneurs, right? So the coaches and the healers and really a lot of the gentle souls out there that feel a little bit icky about the marketing space often. So I kind of guide them through and help them attract their ideal clients with integrity and grace. And how we do that is we build a really strong brand foundation and then develop a real soul-aligned like marketing plan so that they can pull it all together and feel good about it. So yeah, that's what I'm up to. And Chris Ann and I met by magic of the universe and Instagram over a month ago, I guess, and just really realized that we have this real, a real passion for bringing all of us together and just seeing what we can do together around soulful business. So,
yeah, letting everyone win, right? That's the idea, which is not usually the idea in marketing. So,
no, we're on to a whole new idea marketing. Well, a whole new idea marketing is emerging right now. So,
absolutely. And so I'm so excited to introduce Carrie Mallon. She was from the ex-Happy Fish Tarot, recently rebranded to carriemallon.com. She is an amazing kind of online personality, a tarot reader. She's been growing her business. I've been fangirling and watching along the way, which has been kind of fun. And so Carrie, thank you so much for being here, and tell us about what you do.
Thank you. I'm excited. So you kind of hit a lot of the key points of what I do. So I'm a tarot reader. I do a lot of writing. I do a lot of blogging, usually about once a week. And I use tarot specifically for people who want to, as I say, step into their creative badassery, if I'm allowed to say that on here. So I work with a lot of people who are creative types who are facing some blocks, facing resistance, and I use tarot as a way to help people kind of identify what's going on within them and look at what steps they can take to kind of come face to face with that and move through it and live life in a way that feels really expansive. So that's what I'm all about.
Cool. Expansiveness. That is a word that we've been touching on quite a bit like in the last couple of weeks, and that's awesome. What does it mean for you when you say kind of grow or live expansively?
I really like that word, and it's a word that it's so hard to describe it with further words because to me expansive taps into a feeling, and for me the feeling of being expansive is it's essentially the opposite of feeling stuck and feeling restricted. It's feeling like you're able to be who you are. It's feeling like you're comfortable with where you are. It's feeling like you have possibilities, and I don't think it's necessarily not having fear, but it's a feeling that there's something sort of even more powerful than fear that's sort of working within you and kind of moving outwards from within and helping you bring things into the world. So I don't know, that might have all sounded a little vague and mystical, but I could probably just like riff about what expansive feels like all day. Such like a broad, I don't know, it just opens up a whole, it's like one simple word that conveys all of the rambling I just did and more.
I love it. I think you've done a beautiful job of describing that. I really resonate with all of those. And I love in your, I had to take a look at your ebook that you offer. And like one of the first few lines was, "This is for expansion seekers." And I was like, that's me. I think people really resonate with that.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So we have a few things that we always like to ask people a little bit about kind of soulful biz, how they bring that soul into their business, or how they bring their spirituality into their business. And we've got so many questions for you, but I'd love to start there. Sort of, how do you see that as playing a role in your business?
I guess for me, especially in my particular business being tarot-centric, it's almost like it has to be a part of my business, because I think that a lot of people who use tarot view it as a spiritual tool. So being the fact that I'm open-minded to spiritual concepts and that the people that I work with have some type of spiritual leanings is essentially like the core of the work that I do. And so it really kind of permeates every aspect of my business. I feel that everything that I do, all the work that I do with my clients, all the writing that I do is sort of coming from a place of wanting to tap into, not in a dogmatic sense, but in a very expansive sense of what it means to invite spirituality into your life and to have spirituality as part of your experience as a human being, as a business owner, as whatever it is that you're doing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have like a certain practice that you how do you start your day? Do you do your own tarot card readings and then you get on with client readings? Give us a day in the life of Carrie Mallon.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because it is most of the things that I consider sort of like the rocks of my personal spiritual practice happen in the morning, or at least ideally I try to have them happen in the morning. So one of the first things that I do is morning pages. If either of you are familiar with the artist Waite by Julia Cameron, it's essentially a course in getting unstuck creatively. And I worked through the course a few years ago, and morning pages are one of her tools. It's essentially a way to get all the thoughts out of your head and kind of get like brain dump before you start moving on with your day. So I do that first thing in the morning, and I do consider that part of my spiritual process, because it's kind of clearing my brain and setting the tone. And then I have some certain affirmations that I do. Those usually go hand in hand with my morning pages. And then recently I've started, it sounds a little out there, but since we're talking about spirituality and spiritual business, it's probably the right group of people. But I do a little bit of seated meditation, but I've also started doing some ecstatic dance in the morning. My own home. So I just find some good music online, and it's just like literally me dancing, and there's nobody watching, and it's just like letting it all out. And that feels very spiritual and a good way to kind of tap into that energy. And then I also do, of course, daily tarot draws for myself to kind of set the tone for the day as well.
Yeah. Beautiful. We had someone that was a dancer on last week, and she was talking about just letting go and like dancing too. And so I think we're all solo dancers in our own way. I love that you brought that up. That's really cool. Yeah. And so you actually have a really robust practice. I mean, as far as your sort of what you do to keep yourself on track.
Ideally, I will say there are days where it doesn't quite go exactly as I just described it, depending on what's going on. But I have noticed that when I am consistent with that, I have the best energy to bring to my clients, to my family, to all aspects of my life. And it probably sounds more kind of time consuming than it really is. Usually this all happens within the first maybe hour and a half of my morning. Yeah.
Well, you do morning meditations too, Becca, don't you? Is that like a daily thing for you?
I do. I try to make it my daily. And sometimes, like today, it was 5 minutes. I was running a little behind, but I was like, but those 5 minutes make all the difference.
Yes,
it helps me settle in, and like I've mentioned a million times when we have our conversations here, like I always have a new insight or inspiration or like creativity. That's where, those ideas that are there, they actually can come to the surface for me. So yeah, it's it's gold.
It is. It gives us the little seeds for the day.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, kind of being such a tarot person. I'm a designer, so I see lots of shapes and colors, and like often when I meditate, I get my seeds that way. Do you get them like in symbols ever, sort of like in suits, or in, how do the symbols affect your day, or do they? Maybe they don't.
Hopefully I'm kind of going along the line of what you're actually asking, so let me know. But I do notice I see tarot everywhere in the world, and especially because I do daily draws for myself, it's partly because I'm looking for those types of things, but it's really common that, for example, I have one of my favorite tarot decks is very heavy on animal imagery. It's the Wild Unknown Tarot. And,
So beautiful. Yeah.
gosh, yeah, it's a gorgeous deck. And so sometimes, I'll draw a certain card from that deck, and maybe I draw a card with a fox on it. And then throughout the day, it's kind of like I'm scrolling through Instagram and someone else is posting a picture of a fox. And then, later on, I hear someone describing something as foxy. And so there's kind of just things like that where I notice the synchronicities.
Cool.
I'm not sure if that's I'm not sure if I got
absolutely. Oh, for sure. You know what? I was thinking visually because that's the way I see the world, but you see it symbols actually in real life, that's awesome. I think that's really cool. Yeah. So maybe I would love to know kind of what got you into tarot. Like how did you start that journey?
Sure. I was at a place, I often describe it as my quarter life crisis. Sorry, I heard a dog for a moment. I don't know if I was the only one who heard that, but it's fine. So anyhow, I say I was having a quarter life crisis, which is, again, maybe kind of a silly way to describe it, but it was that phase I think a lot of people reach where I had gone to university and got my bachelor's degree. I had obtained my first kind of corporate real world job, and I had been doing that for a couple of years. And then essentially I reached that point where I was like, wait, what's next? Because before that point, it was always, while I'm in college, I know after that I'll get a job. And there was sort of a clear next step. And I got to this point where I'd done everything I thought I was supposed to do. And then I just didn't know what was going to be happening from there. So I found myself, I kind of describe it this way, that I really just felt one day compelled to buy a tarot deck. And I didn't really know why. I had a friend when I was younger, actually she's still my friend, but when we were in university, she would read cards for me and things. And so I was sort of familiar with it, but I don't know why there was this moment where I thought, I really want to get a tarot deck. So I did. I got myself a tarot deck. And as I started working with the cards, I realized that all of these things that were going on within me, in my own soul and my own being, I could see them reflected in the cards and in the structure of the deck. And working with the cards helped me work through a lot of the things that were keeping me stuck and a lot of the things that were keeping me feeling like I was having that quarter life crisis. And they helped me, again, reach that place where I felt like now I'm expanding. So that was sort of how I got into tarot, and it all spiraled forward from there.
I love it. I have, I think we all have a very similar story. I don't know about Chris Ann, but I definitely have come into my world too because of I say it's my midlife awakening, right? Like I feel like we through this, we found ourselves in one way or another. So that's great that tarot brought you there. Like I love the self-reflection piece and how that led to your expansion. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. I think most people that find themselves kind of in unique businesses or unique situations or even unique spiritual, they're all unique spiritual journeys, but there's always that moment of awakening, right? Which is sort of cool. What was the first deck you bought? What was that deck?
It was the Rider-Waite-Smith. Anyone who's familiar with tarot will know it's sort of the quintessential tarot deck. When you picture tarot, that's kind of what you look at. And I now have, because I'm a giant tarot nerd, I have, I think, 4 different versions of that particular deck alone, because they have slightly different coloring and slightly little nuanced things that are different about them.
It took me a really long time to buy a Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which is sort of cool. I mean, it was like one of those things where I wanted all of these other, the decks that are maybe more imagery based and they have a theme, and I would be drawn to them. But then every single time I'd want to figure out what it meant, it was always like, go get yourself a Rider-Waite-Smith deck to really get into the nitty gritty. So you were smart. I think you did it the right way.
I think essentially really the reason it happened that way is because when I had this feeling, when I get these feelings like I really want to do something, I feel like I have to do it right then and there. So I honestly didn't even really research tarot at first. That was the deck that I found. And so that was the deck that I purchased.
Mm. Did you, you mentioned that tarot kind of helped you get unstuck through kind of the stage of your life or your quarter life crisis, which is adorable. I've heard that a few times, but I think it's, you're too young to have a quarter life crisis. A crisis, but really, really cute. And you also mentioned that people can kind of use that to get unstuck. So what about business owners? Because we work with a ton of business owners, and I imagine that's probably the audience that's going to see this. How could they go to you or go to tarot to help them get unstuck? Or what do you think about that?
I think I guess there's probably two kind of avenues, and you were sort of alluding to that. But one would be seeking a reading from myself or from another tarot reader. I do custom readings, and then I also have some sort of pre-designed readings that address specific themes. And I think when you come to a tarot reader as a business owner, it would be helpful to sort of give, at least if you're coming to me, I guess I should speak for myself because every tarot reader is a little different, but the way that I work with my clients is I ask them to kind of just tell me a little bit about what's going on and sort of describe as much as they can where they're feeling stuck and what the horizon is kind of looking like in their business. And then I'm a very intuitive reader, so I essentially take the information that the business owner felt was pertinent, and I look at that and think, where can we dig in deeper? So I think that's one of my talents, I guess, is sort of hearing what people come and tell me and looking at what within that message is sort of a key that we can use to go deeper with the cards. So then the cards, essentially, the way that I use them, provide advice, they provide insight, they help you see things that maybe you know in your subconscious mind, but your conscious mind is having a hard time accessing. So even though they seem like a very metaphysical tool, they can give you very practical, actionable advice on how you can get clear on the next step within your business.
Wow, so it's really like you can use tarot for helping you make decisions, find clarity, which I think as business owners, we're all eternally searching for both of those.
Yeah.
A little extra nudge there in that area. I love that it helps dig deeper in the right areas.
Yeah, exactly. That's, I think to some extent this is shifting, but in kind of mainstream culture, there's still a little bit of an association that tarot is for fortune telling, looking at the future. And I wouldn't say that there's no room for that at all, but most people who use tarot now, myself included, use it just as you said for offering advice, looking at, getting clear on what's keeping you stuck. So it's more of a tool for guidance and reflection.
And, when you mentioned reflection, both Chrisanne and I work on helping people develop their brands, right? And one of the things that we really have to focus on or hone in on is let's learn a little bit more about you. Who are you? So we can express that in your brand. And that's a place a lot of people get stuck is who am I? A lot of times they haven't done the introspection or the self-reflection. And so, I think we all provide them with different tools to come to that, but it sounds like tarot could be an amazing tool to kind of get a little deeper into explaining and uncovering who am I?
Yeah, exactly. My tagline on my Instagram bio says tarot for self-discovery. You just really get it. That's sort of what I think is the greatest gift of tarot, is helping us look at that question, who am I? And it's such a multifaceted question. We can spend our lifetime kind of reflecting on it, but that's kind of the second piece I was going to go into as well for how people can use tarot in their business. If somebody has a deck of their own and gets kind of a baseline understanding of the structure of the deck, you could shuffle the cards and ask, who am I? And see what cards you pull. And that might help you say, how can I sort of accentuate this trait of myself within my business? So there's just really endless ways that it could apply to business owners, I think.
Love it.
Yeah.
And it may be, I'm just thinking it's probably a way to kind of bypass their critical thinking. When you talk to business owners about their brand, then they often spurt out what they've told themselves over and over again in their 30-second networking commercial, or it's always that kind of, I need to hit all of these three things and this is who I am. So tarot could be a really great way to bypass that and just talk directly to their unconscious mind, like you mentioned.
Yeah,
Love it.
absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of really simple 3-card spreads that I use, and one that kind of speaks to what you're talking about. There'd be a lot of ways to do that, but I do notice that, especially within my business, I sometimes have instances where my conscious mind is very convinced that I have to do things a certain way, or that I've already started one train of action, so my only choice is to continue with that train of action. And so I have a little really simple spread that I use that I pull 3 cards. One is to clarify what is the strongest influence in my conscious mind. And then one is to give me information about what's going on deeper within me and my intuition and my unconscious mind. And then the third card is what I can do to sort of bridge the gap between those and kind of help those 2 elements communicate and work together and find a way to, get clear on what that next move would be.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that something like you would say a business owner could use like every day as they get up, or as they're approaching projects, or where do you find they best put that into play?
I think, I guess my first inclination would be because obviously tarot reader, so I'm big on intuition, but when you feel that there's an intuitive need or an intuitive area in your business in which that could be useful, tarot, I think, is something that you can use as often as you would like. So when I'm starting, for example, a bigger project, I'll often do a more sort of elaborate spread for myself. But if I'm just doing something really simple, like even writing a blog post, I might pull a few cards to give some clarity or give some direction with where I want to go with that.
I love it. We're all looking for tools, right? Tools to help guide us. Like, this is a great one. And I think the beauty of it too is it's fun. There is that element of like, you are excited to do this piece. There's it brings happiness and playfulness and joy to your business. Like, I'm all about that.
Yes, the more fun we can bring in, right? The more we're going to do it consistently.
Right.
Yeah, I love those feelings in business where something just clicks for you. And for me and for a lot of the clients I work with that are fellow business owners, tarot is a large tool for helping facilitate those moments where you're kind of feeling, I don't know. And then you pull some cards and all of a sudden you're like, yes, okay, yes, I get it now. I know what the next move is. Yes, it makes sense. That's it's like, I think it's a feeling we really crave as business owners, having that, yes, this is it.
Yes. And it sounds like too, I was looking at your mentorship program. I mean, that would add that even other element of like, being seen and having like a sounding board almost. It's not just like a one-time reading, but it's like, a few over some time, and, they have access to you, as another business owner. So that seems pretty awesome as support for, making decisions.
Yeah. I really enjoy the way that I have the mentorship structured. Sorry, I have a cat who's over here rolling around trying to ask for attention. Over here, it's trying to placate the cat. But the way I have that mentorship structured is a combination of Skype sessions in which we're sort of just talking back and forth and kind of an open conversation. Not really using tarot too heavily. It's not like a reading. It's more of a mentoring coaching session. And then there are also tarot readings built into the mentorship as well. So the readings kind of dive deeper into the conversations. And it's nice having that interplay between, like you said, it's not just the reading, it's the reading and then kind of elaborating on and going more intricately into what the implications of the reading are.
No, that's nice.
Sometimes people just want to be, this idea of being witnessed and being seen as they're growing, right? So I could see you really helping out in that sense, because when you do a reading or when you're playing with some of these tools, it's so nice to bounce it off someone else and does this make sense? And what do you think? So I imagine that your mentorship students are thrilled.
Yeah, I think so. What you were kind of just describing reminds me of, we talk a lot about the term holding space, at least do in, the tarot world, and I think kind of the larger spiritual world in general. And it is something that we crave. I think sometimes when people come for a reading or a mentorship or anything, that's a lot of what they're craving, is someone to hold that space and someone to just kind of be a witness and be there to give them the room to come to their own insights. But it's almost like, when you have someone as a mentor with you, they do hold that space for you, and they give you guidance and everything like that, but they're also really I think when it's done well, a mentor is helping you evoke what is already powerful within you.
Mm.
That's a great description of a mentor. I like that a lot.
Mm.
Yeah. Ah, wonderful.
Yeah.
So tell us about your, when you launched your business. How did that happen? How was it? Was it another sort of one of those decisions, like I'm going to buy my cards and I'm going to do it? And what kind of marketing did you do?
It was a bit of, so in the tarot, the first card, card 0, is called the Fool. And I certainly had the energy of the Fool when I started my business. It's in the good sense and in the maybe could have been a little bit more structured sense. I did some kind of advanced planning and some sort of looking at things, but most of it was based on sort of following the next right step and trying to feel that sense. We talk a lot about leaping and following your heart. And it was very much for me a lot of that, especially because I did something which is incredibly terrifying and not the best decision for everybody, but it ended up working out okay for me, which is long story short, I was working in a corporate job that had become very toxic for me and very soul-sucking. And I quit that job cold turkey and leapt directly into my business. So it was terrifying and exciting. And I started a couple of months before I started the actual business component. I began kind of tinkering with social media and trying to get a little bit of engagement there. So that helped to have, not by no means a huge audience, but to have at least kind of putting myself out there a bit and kind of letting people know what I can offer to them. But it was an amazing, exhilarating process. But I will say that the excitement and the fear were kind of like, one moment this is higher and one moment this is higher, and they were sort of doing this little dance back and forth for sure.
Yeah. Where would you say now most people are finding you? Like, what is your strongest avenue for having new people like love you?
Right now, actually, it's Instagram. Instagram's been incredible. It's a wonderful tool, I think, for tarot because it's so visually focused. So I can create really nice images of the cards. That's where I've been connecting with a lot of clients lately.
That's what I was going to guess, looking at your Instagram account and the engagement and just, and I could see that. Other than Instagram, is there another marketing modality that you use that you feel like connects really well?
Lately, I've been putting a conscious effort to put more energy into my newsletter, because I've noticed that I think email is it's still kind of an intimate space, whereas social media feels a little more, it's kind of going out to this huge group of people. When you open an email, I think there's still that sense of this is something more intimate. So I've been putting more energy into that because I've been observing lately that the people who have taken the step of signing up for my email updates are often the people who have the most interest and the most investment already in my message. So I'm kind of in the process of planning out what it's going to look like from here, but I want to be putting more really good content and making that newsletter into a space that people want to be in, that it's really giving of myself in a way that, hopefully feels good for people and maybe could inspire people to want to work with me as well.
Beautiful. I think that's a very wise move.
Yeah, lists are not dead.
No. And especially just how you described it is how email marketing works, right? It's really connecting and just loving up your people, right? And like building a connection with them. So yeah, I think that sounds awesome. And your ebook looks really cool. I opened it and I looked through and I was like, wow, I have a lot that I could learn here. So I want to play with that a little bit because I'm really new to tarot. I mean, I've had tarot readings, but I don't read tarot. So yeah, it looks really handy, useful, and intriguing.
Thank you. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, I wanted to drop a link into your ebook here and also into your website, into the chat.
Yeah.
For anybody who comes on, I have some of that here. before we forget. Oh, and hey, while I'm doing this, Chris-Ann, can you make me a host on this so that this shows up on my channel? So... All right, so there's your book so that people can connect with you, so they could stay in tune and in touch and kind of know what you have up next.
Yes.
And on that note, what do you have up next? I know you have your readings and you have your mentorship, but I hear there might be a course.
Yes, I am in the process of creating a course. It is still sort of in the unfolding phase, very much so. I'm trying to find the balance between being very dedicated and disciplined in working on it, and also with my more spiritual side, letting it come to being at its own pace. Yeah. So that is my process, and the course is going to be centered around giving people tools, philosophies, and strategies for getting unblocked creatively. So it's something that I'm hugely, immensely interested in, because I kind of alluded to this, but around the time that I discovered tarot, I was having some very intense creative blocks within me, and working through those has been a continual process. So this course is giving me the chance to share things that have been incredibly meaningful and transformational in my life. It uses tarot to an extent within the course. Tarot is used basically as a framework. So somebody does not have to have an extensive knowledge of tarot to partake in the course. Tarot is more used to sort of take the concepts that I'm describing and use tarot sort of to expand upon those. Oh, my cat! I didn't notice she was in the picture.
No, it's great. She's welcome.
Yeah.
My dog is often here. He's just not there today. So.
Yeah, this cat is so social. So anyhow, so I'm working on that. I don't have a specific launch date yet, but hopefully within the next few months, I'll be putting that out there. And I'm very, very excited about it. It's something I've been wanting to do for ages.
Ooh, it sounds awesome. You know, I'm currently in a beta course right now that's Business by the Moon. And what a beautiful, new, refreshing way. Oh no, we lost Chris-Ann. But it's just such a refreshing way to look at your business. And again, it gives you that new like inspiration or just new eyes. So I think the tarot and bringing in your creativity would be really cool.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. And the one that you're taking as well sounds very interesting. It'd probably be right up my alley.
Oh yeah. Well, it's, I'm testing it out right now, but I can tell that it's already going to be really good. So I'll let you know when it's live.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I think we somehow, Chris-Ann fell off, but hopefully she's coming back. And there she is. Yay! She just fell.
I fell. It's all good.
All right.
I came right back.
Excellent. Yeah. So the course, your one-on-one. Is there any other questions that I actually want to ask you, since we have really, we're creating this all for collaboration and supporting each other. Like, is there anything we can do to support you? Anything, like little asks, any resources you're looking for, any way we can get the word out about you? Like,
oh, that's so sweet. I can really feel the energy that you two are putting out with this feeling of just wanting to be inviting and welcoming, and that alone, to be completely honest, I feel like you've already done something for me just by inviting me to be here and being open to hearing what I have to say. So I don't have anything specifically at the moment, but I just want to express my gratitude for what you're doing. I'm excited to see where it goes. It seems like, like I kind of already said, I can feel the good intentions that you two have behind creating this. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. I mean, it's just been a ton of fun. I mean, I look forward to every Wednesday. I'm like, ooh, who do we get to talk to this time?
We're excited to see where it goes too, right? It is sort of a picking of different types of business owners and different brains, just to see too, like what's possible if we're actually all really supporting each other in collaboration and not in competition, right? So there's sort of it's a question. I mean, a lot of people are playing with that question, but I know that we want to be a part of that solution. Be a small, tiny part.
Yeah, let's see where this goes. But don't forget that you can, even after this, like reach out to us or, stay connected for sure.
Thank you so much. I very much will. I appreciate that.
And I wanted, the one thing that I had on my list that I wanted you to talk to us today, you have a Pentacles reading. That would be great for business owners.
Yes. So I call it the Pondering Pentacles reading, and this is one of the more kind of pre-designed type readings that I do. I also do custom readings, as I mentioned earlier. But the Pondering Pentacles reading has been designed specifically for creative business owners. It gets its name because within tarot, for those who are not as familiar with the structure of the deck, the suit of Pentacles is associated with finances, with the material realm, with tangible reality. So I came up with the name Pondering Pentacles to sort of speak to that aspect. And that reading, I do customize it based on the entrepreneur's individual situation, but it has kind of some predetermined elements we bring in where we look at sort of the current overall energy behind your business, the energy you're bringing into your business, maybe some hidden strengths that you can tap into that will help within your business, all of those kinds of things. So it's very exciting, and I think it gives some good sort of revelatory information for creative business types.
Ooh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to order one of those, Carrie. That sounds like a great reading. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I have kind of a question about the perception of tarot. I know you mentioned that some people think it's like a future thing and like the kind of the fortune tellers and their crystal balls telling the future, which it's not.
Yeah.
Do you find people are still afraid of tarot at all, or do people come to you? I mean, I've been able to get away with bringing oracle decks to my clients into work, but never tarot.
Yeah. You know, that's such an interesting question, and I think the answer is very complicated, but I personally do not get very many people that have weird feelings about tarot. I think that's partly due to the nature of, as we talked about earlier, most of my clients find me through Instagram or find me through something where they're already sort of, as we say, like vibrating at the same frequency that I am, you know what I mean? Once in a while, the only time I get people that are kind of like, oh my gosh, tarot, I don't do this too often, but occasionally I do for fundraisers or things like that. I will go and do little readings and like public parties and events and things like that. And so then I'm more with sort of people who aren't necessarily in the same sphere that I am online. So then once in a while I get the people that are like, oh, what's this all about? You know, but not too much of that comes with my general clients that I work with. Most people are sort of already hanging out in that space where they view tarot in a certain way, and they don't have kind of the strings attached to it that I guess some people might from pop culture or whatnot.
Right.
Well, and I love that you're so warm and welcoming and kind of unassuming. Like, you know, you don't. I think if anyone would be able to bring people over into that world, it would be you, because you're very non-threatening.
Oh,
right?
Thanks. That's great. When I first started, actually before I even had the idea to start a business, I feel almost like this was my subconscious guiding me. I don't know why, but when I was still working my corporate job, I got really addicted to watching Marie Forleo's videos. I'm sure you're both familiar with it. And I remember she had this particular video where she talked about the energy that you bring when you describe to people what you do. And she was saying if you, her example wasn't a tarot reader, but it was essentially something along the lines of, if you meet people and say, oh, I'm a tarot reader, like, I know that's kind of weird. I know you might think that's freaky. Telling it's not. You know, she's kind of talking if you bring that energy versus, oh, I use tarot for personal growth and self-discovery and creativity. It's such a different energy. And so I try to bring the energy that does feel inviting and feels kind of more like I'm very at home and comfortable with what tarot is. And I think that that's actually helped me attract the right kind of people.
I love that.
It comes across.
Thank
I like to hear that that's intentional, or it's probably just who you are, but it is very, it comes across. So yeah. You're doing a great job.
It's good.
Beautiful. Well, so where people can find you, Carrie, is Carrie Mallon. Is it Mallon? Am I saying Mallon?
CarrieMallon.com. Yeah, Mallon. Yeah, and it's the same Instagram at Carrie Mallon, Twitter at Carrie_Mallon. So pretty much any social media and my website, you can find me.
All right. I'm going to drop, I copied this from your I think, contact or something like that page. But there you go. There's all the places you can find Carrie at in the side.
Thank you. Wonderful. That's amazing.
Awesome. And then also I dropped in here for anybody watching this replay that you can watch previous episodes of The Gathering with our other guests and our other topics at, I dropped in a link here. So I've added them all to my blog so everybody can kind of, watch the replays and take a look. Yeah. And Chris-Ann, did you make me a host yet? So
you know what? When I tried to, it kicked me out.
Oh, whoa, I don't want to kick that again.
So we can do it as soon as we stop recording.
Exactly. No, don't do it yet. Oh, puppy. Look at all these little furry critters who want to be on camera.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome.
Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you so much, Carrie, for spending some time with us. That was wonderful. We usually aim for 45 minutes. We're right on the money. And thank you so much for your time and your wonderful energy and great conversation. And I really do look forward to keeping in touch.
You're welcome. Right back to both of you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
Right.